Hey, everybody. Michelle is here on a Wednesday. Oh, yeah, I said something earlier. Oh, I think I recorded something earlier. I can't even remember. I just finished working on my toes. I was going to go in and get my toes done, get a pedicure. But I said, oh, no. Nobody's about to put these ugly toes on those social media because they were pretty jacked up. You know what I mean? With all that traveling and going on in the dry temperatures. I mean, yeah, I'm going to do some work on my toes myself before I have anybody else touching them. Because, yeah, like I said, they're pretty jacked up, and I'm not going to show you a picture of it. So don't even think about it. But anyway, I wanted to come through and talk about something that, like I said, we're going to really going to have to elevate our conversations and elevate our consciousness and elevate our thoughts about certain words that we use, and that certain words do have a certain effect on your psyche, on your consciousness. And some words have an effect to where they can put you in a trance. Okay, did anybody know that? Because we ought to know that, because that has been the standards for so long with manipulation, with indoctrination, with deception and such, brainwashing. It's done with a series of words. Okay, so we really need to take that extremely seriously, and how devastating that can come upon you when you think that you're free, and then you realize you're being indoctrinated and being manipulated. Such words as being humble. And I think if we pay attention to that word, I think we will eliminate that from our vocabulary, because it has a submissiveness, respect to that word, being humble. I don't necessarily say that I'm humble about anything, because like I told you, I'm not submissive and subservient, and nor will I need to be that way. It's very harmful to consider yourself submissive and subservient anyway. That shows that you are downgrading your worthiness. Okay, so I think, like I said, I think a lot of people are just following trends and following people and not doing their own research, and recognize that some words, like I said, with the certain books, let's put this, and I mentioned this a while back, and I'm not going to say it again, what book it was, but there are certain books that were changed completely. And a lot of people didn't recognize the major changes that were in this particular book that people used to define themselves and define their realities. And I told you, as a younger woman back in the day, I attempted to read this particular book, and it made no sense to me at all. But then secretly, somehow, this book goes through a series of changes to where it doesn't even have any relation to the old book. And I don't remember certain people that hold that book so dearly being invited to the party, so to speak, to change this book and change the language and such. And so again, this book was used to highlight someone's life. It was the reason for a lot of people to live. They were going to this book. This book was supposedly, the original word, but yet it was changed. And I don't remember anybody making such an issue about it. You understand me? So that's the same thing with words. Certain words have changed somehow. Someone just felt like they should go into the dictionaries, into these encyclopedias, and just change the meaning of words. And yet we're still using those words as if they have the same meaning we thought they had prior. Like humble. Humble is a submissive respect. Did anyone know that? Are you submissive when you're being humble? Is that your intention? I doubt it. So like I said, all we're doing, a lot of people are just jumping on bandwagons and riding coattails and following trends, following people, all up in people's ass, you know what I'm saying? And not thinking for themselves about, okay, what does that actually mean? Because that's where we run into problems, like I said, with our communication. And certain words we keep using and thinking they still have the same meaning, meaning. Sorry, I'm having the issues with the jaw still. So, like spirit has changed. The meaning of spirit, the meaning of being humble, the meaning of what other words we use, positive and negative, all that stuff. Did you all know that it was changed somehow? What does it mean to be humble to you? Did you know it was a submissive respect? Are you being submissive? Did you know that? So pay attention to the words you speak and make sure they have the meaning you can support. Okay, no one wants to be submissive to anything. Okay, that's inhumane, as a matter of fact, to be submissive and subservient to any other human being. That's inhumane. And anyone who expects that kind of treatment, okay, you ought to know what you're dealing with. So challenge your beliefs, okay? Challenge your convictions. Challenge your faith. Just challenge it. You could do it privately. No one has to know. Okay, no one has to know. But I would eliminate being humble unless you enjoy being submissive. That's like I said, it's all free will. But make sure these words have the meaning you expect they have, that they represent what you, because like I said, some of these philosophers from back in the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, 1900s use theories and opinions and words that have been watered down and don't have that meaning anymore. They represent something else completely, but we still using them as if, So please challenge your beliefs. Challenge your faith, challenge your convictions. You ought to be allowed to do so. You have free will. You're responsible for you're maintaining your sanity, being held responsible and accountable. A lot of people realize nobody's coming to save us. If someone was coming to save you, wouldn't they have been here by now? Just think logically about things and don't get offended, though. That's something that people are just going to have to work on, being offended. And that's when I know their ego is in the way. Suspend your ego and talk gently to yourself. Be kind to yourself and say, why in the world am I believing this? Like I said, do this stuff silently. You don't have to share everything. Like I said, I'm sharing a whole lot of information because I know what I'm doing, and I know why I'm doing it, because I know who I am, what I am, and why I am. I know what my responsibilities are. I know what my duties are. Okay, and that's to help. Okay, it's because I know better. So if I know better, I ought to help others to know better. That's what teachers do, visionaries, whatever you want to call yourself, which is irrelevant. I'm a human being helping other human beings. That's what I do, and that's what I enjoy. That's what I love. I do this out of love, okay? I do it out of love. So sometimes love is that energy that, that can masquerade as hate. All right, there is a thin line. Okay, and it's all based on your actions and your behavior. Okay, there is a thin line. And so, like I said, when you have love and you understand the energy of love, you can recognize hate right away, because, it feels differently. The energy strikes you differently. But if you are consumed with hate, jealousy, and envy, you will not see love. You will not experience love. You will not feel love. You will not understand love. but you know how to attempt to morph yourself into that type of individual, which is deception anyway. And that's what sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissistic, that's what they do. They know how to morph into who you want them to be, honey. There's no consistency with them. Okay, and there's no, they are essentially, I don't know, the word, like I said, words is hard to describe them, but they're effective. Okay, and and the reason why they have no desire to change, because it does bring them benefit. It benefits them. Forget about everybody else. Okay, sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissists remain sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissists because, well, first of all, they have no strong will to change, and it benefits them to stay as such. To be charming, to be the one that can work the room, manipulate, brainwash, draw you in. Okay, draw you into their madness. Okay, and they can. Once you're involved with them, I think we all have been involved with those type of individuals, those type of personalities, those type of just people, because they are human beings. They still are human beings, but they have that acute evilness within. They don't understand their innermost self. They are superficial to the utmost degree. They don't know who they are, why they are, and what they are, but they look to others, to feed off of that, to feed them. They actually feed off of that. It brings them joy to be such a personality. Okay, so challenge these words. Like humble. What does it mean by the spirit? What does it mean by love? Define that stuff for yourself individually. Like I said, you don't have to share anything with anyone. I would suggest you do a lot of that stuff privately anyway. Know what you're sharing on social media and be able to handle the blowback, because the blowback is intentional. If there were no blowback, there wouldn't be no social media. You know what I mean? Social media, the social media platforms exist because of the engagement, and the more controversial and the more back and forth, the more of that exchange and discord and chaos, that's what people feed off of, unfortunately. Okay, so again, challenge these words, these beliefs you have about yourself. I say, well, why in the world do I have such a belief? And you will laugh about it if you suspend your ego and not take yourself so seriously. Okay, and be offended by your lack of knowledge about what you believe instead of what you know. And I told you, there's a lot of things we don't know. And I think if we did, it will cause more harm than good, unfortunately, right now. That's why I said, please just be gentle. Just be gentle and do everything you can to ground yourself in reality. Okay, ground yourself in reality. Like I said, I'm reading a very touchy book right now. It's about rebirth, life, dying, death, and and sorrow. I'm reading about that because I want to, number one. And number two, it's all necessary for us to understand, that at some point, yes. I'm fascinated by people who want to extend the clock of their life, and live longer than, their parents, or just live longer. I admire that, and I'm fascinated by people that wanting to eat healthier, do more exercise, but everything starts in the thoughts. It really does. If you can get that going and stop the spin or rumination there, I think you'll understand that you can find peace in the worst of conditions. Okay, you can find peace in the worst of situations. Okay, you just have to be honest and grounded. Okay, we love to stay in our fantasies, in our delusions, and living up in our brains and in realities that don't exist. They're just fantasies. And there's nothing wrong with having a fantasy, but you need to know that it's a fantasy and bring yourself out of it and say, okay, where am I now? Okay, what's going on right now? What do I hear? What do I see? What do I feel? You know, those are the things that are going to keep you safe and grounded and allow you to recognize the signs of danger, the warnings, the signpost, the energy, that will guide you towards your path, towards your journey. No matter, and disregard what everybody else is saying about that, because a lot of people have no idea what they're talking about. I think a lot of us are figuring that out. Even the people we bestow as knowledgeable, and we looked up to them at one point, we're starting to realize, okay, nothing but smoke and mirrors. And like I said, be gentle about that. You don't have to say a word about it. Just silently walk your path and get yourself out of that. Because some people, like I said, are not going to want to let you go. You pay their bills. Okay, you keep their subscriptions going. Okay, you think they're going to let you go? And that, like I said, that includes therapists, that includes teachers, so-called prophets, pastors, preachers, whatever they call themselves, leaders, Just be silent. And the main thing is be safe about it, because a lot of people are going to start revving up this rhetoric when they realize, a lot of people are not paying them any attention, and they're not getting the attention they once were. And so they're going to get desperate and start proclaiming things that are not true and attempting to scare you and make you frightened and their subtle threats and this and that and the other. We're in a political season. It's going to be revved up more so than ever. Okay, we have these politicians with these idiot behaviors, evil behaviors, and how they're treating human beings, how they're shipping human beings across the country. It's inhumane, like cattle, like animals. Okay, shipping them across the country. And not losing. I mean, a lot of them are losing sleep over it, but nobody's going to admit that. All of us have trouble sleeping. All of us, all over this planet. Because you know why? Well, the planet is sounding the alarm. Okay, so all of us are having trouble sleeping. Even these so-called, strong leadership, so-called leaders proclaim themselves to be. Okay, as an individual, just be gentle. Just be kind to yourself and to others. Okay, don't fall into the trap of getting yourself involved with arguing with people, going back and forth with people. You need to be safe for your children. You need to be safe for your partners, your husbands, your wives, yourself. Okay? The planet needs the righteous to do what righteous people do. Okay, sometimes you need to move silently. Sometimes you need to raise your voice. But again, make sure you are suspending your ego and do not take stuff personally when people start attacking, because they will. That's what we do. Okay? So, humble. Challenge that word. And chances are you'll realize, okay, that doesn't resonate with me anymore. How can I elevate it and say something completely different? Okay? Elevate your conversation and elevate your thoughts. That way you can elevate your consciousness. Okay? So I'm going to send peace and love, everybody, all over the stars, moon, and mountains. And trust me, I'll be back. I got to work on looking into this camera properly, but who cares, right? Peace and love.